What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. As y'all know, that helps us keep coming to you guys as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. And we appreciate you guys' support in getting us this far. And of course, you can hit us on Cash App to support us that way. Unique Access ENT. Now, today we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by Howie T, the Hitman Howie T. Thank you for coming through.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
That's how we roll.
Yes, yes. It's an honor and privilege to have you here, man.
For the invite.
Yeah. So one thing I never knew, but as I was studying and learning, trying to understand and trying to connect some of these dots, did you produce on the Crash Crew, the 2468? Or is that that was you?
Yep.
Okay. So that was the first time, but that was just Howie T, and it wasn't with the two E's, and it was all different. It wasn't Hitman later.
No, it was always with the two E's. They just didn't write it right.
Well, that's why.
I was Hitman before that.
So as we get into this, I'm glad that I solved that mystery that I'd had since I was a little kid. But how did you get down with the Crash Crew and end up working on that song?
Believe it or not, I was going to the store. I left my house. I was going to the store, and I ran into D.O.C. He was he had some 12-inch of high-powered rap, and he was just walking around neighborhoods giving out the records. So I ran into him. I didn't even know he was D.O.C. from Kreisberg. He was just some guy handing out records. So he gave me one, and we just got to talking and and then we just formed my friendship since then. And I used to go to the Bronx and hang out with him. He used to take me to some record stores to find break beats and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Then our friendship just grew. And then they wanted to make a record, and he wanted me, to do a jam. I think you may have to do research, but I think I'm the only outside of Sugar Hill production to ever go in Sugar Hill Record Studio.
Well, that's also why I was confused, because I knew they were very...
Right, they had a camp, like a clique.
Yeah.
I was the only outsider to come into Sugar Hill Studio and produce a record outside of Sugar Hill's production, team.
So when you met D.O.C, was this like 84-ish, 85, would you say?
I think it was like in 84. Okay. Whenever the high-powered rap came out on the black label with the yellow already.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So at that point, what was going on in your world as far as musically and personally? What was going on with you?
I was just I was still like a neighborhood DJ, playing at block parties, house parties, and stuff like that. So I was just going to record stores, buying, updated records, because as a DJ, you got to stay up to date. So I was just basically like just DJing. And then it was in 83. I think it was like summer of 83. I went to Rock and Soul on what street was that? 7th Avenue? Across the street from Madison Square Garden and Mayfield's.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that store, Rock and Soul.
I've seen it. I know what it is.
Yeah, so that was one of my go-to record shops.
Okay. And
I was there, to see what they had new. And then and when I left the record store, this guy named Peter Allen stopped me with a little tape recorder. And he wasn't a rapper, or producer. He was like managing this rap group. It was a guy and a girl, and they were working on a song called I think it's called Fresh Beat. So he was just stopping people playing the tape, to get their opinion to see if he was going in the right direction. So when he stopped me and played for me. I was like, nah, man, that's whack. Ain't nobody want to hear that. Right? So he asked me if I could come to the studio and help them, like work on the song. I don't know why he asked me to come to the studio. It wasn't like, I wasn't producing and nothing like that. I was just still a DJ. So I said, all right, I'll come down there. So it was like, I met him like on a Wednesday or Thursday. And he told me to come down there that Saturday. So I told my homeboy Carlos, because and then my crew was Howie T and the Short Shot 4 MCs. And we had a manager, this guy named Carlos. So I told him about it. So he came down there with me. So we was trying to work on the song. We went in the mic booth. Fresh beat, then, tried to do whatever. And it just wasn't coming out right. So he asked me if we had anything, that we wanted to record, and we said, yeah, we didn't. When we said, yeah, heck yeah. So he told me to bring the music, and let him check it out, blah, blah, blah. So that was supposed to be like 3 days later. So within that 3 days, I made something up musically. And then one of our MCs from the Short Shot 4, he was in jail, unfortunately. But he always had this banging rap that when we on block parties and blah, blah, he had this rap that was so hot. Carlos said, yo, let's use this rap, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh no, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? My part was the music. So I ain't care, as far as what the lyrics is going to be. So we went down there. I played the music. Carlos said the rap. And they were like, yo, we got to record this, blah, blah, blah. So it was, don't be at the bottom or in the middle. Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Baby, tax is big. But we broke it up because the rhyme would have finished too quick. So it was like, don't be at the bottom or in the middle. Bum, 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 bum. Life ain't nothing but a fun. So we kind of stretched it out. And we just kept recording. And we recorded it. And it came out. I don't know if you know the song Get Tough.
Yep.
And the group was C3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I came up with that whole track in 3 days.
Wow.
And then we did that rap. And then Carlos had another friend. His name was Dash. Carlos said, brought him in. Because them two supposed to be the rappers, and I'm, supposed to be the DJ. So the guy, Peter Allen, was like, yo, man, you need to rap too. Won't you rap? And I was like, nah, man, I'm not a rapper. I'm the DJ. And they taught me into it. So I ended up rapping on there.
Right.
So I did the music, I did the scratching, and I did rap on that one song.
So what, even before that in your life as a person, what made you gravitate more to DJing and being a musician side of things, or doing the music stuff than more the rap?
I was always into music because I'll tell you a story my mother told me. Because I was born in Birmingham, England, right? And my parents are Jamaican. So they always had like house parties. So anytime they had a house party, my brother, my two sisters and I, my mother would put us to bed upstairs. And then every once in a while, as the party's going on, she'd come and check on us. So she said she came upstairs to check on us, and I wasn't in the bed. So she was looking for me. And she found me behind the speaker box, asleep. I would sleep behind the speaker box. You know, so, and then as years went on, anytime I go to like my aunt's house or my uncle's house, I always go through their records and the songs and the records that I like, I make a pile and put it aside. So the next time I go to their house, I'll pull out my pile and those are the records I'll play. So I was always into music like that. And that's how I ended up DJing. Because I was always, you know, I was always into music. And my brother bought my first 2 turntables and a mixer. But he didn't buy me headphones. So my first outside the house party was in my backyard. I had the turntables, mixer, no headphones. So I was mixing without headphones. My first mix was Rolling Stones' Miss You.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I had those 2 records and I was mixing. I would make it bleed a little so I could hear the tempo and mix it and get another record, make it bleed a little so I could hear the tempo. So music, I was in DJing, you know, in that aspect because I've seen other DJs. I was just doing it. And I knew you're supposed to have 2 turntables because I've heard of like Flash and Theodore using 2 turntables, but I've never visually seen it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like my scratching. I started to scratch because I've heard Flash and them tapes. I've never seen what they did to get the scratch sound. I just figured it out. I was always one of those guys. I always try to figure something out. So anytime my boys used to have Flash tapes and Grandmaster and Grand Wizard Theodore tapes and the Cold Crush and all that, they always give me a copy. And I've been listening to it. I've never went to none of those shows they had, like at the park in the Bronx. You know, I never went to none of that. So when I hear them scratching, I figure out what they did to get that effect. So that's how I end up scratching. I figured it out. I heard it. I was like, wait, let me see.
Yeah, it's much different. But for me, I didn't end up being a DJ. But I remember when I was a little kid and I first heard scratching, I had no idea what it was. I just knew I liked the sound.
Right. Yep.
And that leads into the next things I wanted to talk to you about, because I first started really seeing your name when you were doing the Whistle stuff and then some stuff with UTFO. So how did you get with Whistle and Kango Kid to do that stuff?
Okay, now, Get Tough was out. It was playing on the radio like crazy. The reason why it was playing on the radio like crazy is because we got Mr. Magic and Marley Marsh to do the remix. So if they do the remix, they gotta play it on BLS. So, you know, our record was always on the air on BLS. Latin Rascals were doing their edit with the tape and all that stuff. So Kango, I knew Kango before, you know, I did Get Tough because he lived in the neighborhood. And there, you know, back then, if there's like more than one crew, there's always like a battle and stuff like that. So one time they wanted a battle. U.T.F.O wanted a battle Howie T and the Short Shot 4. So I said, okay, we'll battle, but whoever wins gets the other person's equipment. Let's battle for equipment. And they backed out. They didn't want to battle because they were scared. We had a lot. I mean, I don't know why he got scared because, first of all, I had more equipment than him. All they had was a receiver, 2 turntables, and some house speakers. I had 2 15-inch bass bottoms, some 12-inch mids, a box full of hi-hats and horns. We had a console with two turntables, mixer, preamp, EQ, tape deck. They could have got all of that, but they, so now CD3 came out. It was playing. So I guess full force it took, UTFO to the studio, because they wanted to cut the record. So after they cut the record, Kango came to my basement to play it for me, get my opinion. It was Hanging Out.
Okay.
It was Hanging Out. Hanging Out was the A side. Roxanne was the B side.
Right.
Right. So he came to my basement, he played it for me. I was like, oh, okay. That's cool. Sounds good, man. He said, yeah, but now we need to come up with the B side. And he said his idea was when he raps, a beat, when Dr. Ice rap, another beat, and when Educated Rapper raps, another beat. So I was like, all right. So I had my 808. He programmed his beat. I programmed Dr. Ice beat. And then I said, yo, with Educated Rapper, when Educated Rapper raps, loop big beat. Because on the block parties, when Mixmaster Ice throw on big beat, Educated Rapper get on the mic, his flow, his vocal tone rides that beat. He sounds good on big beat. So I said, loop big beat when Educated Rapper parties. And he was like, all right, cool, bye. So I put the little tape together. I was working on CD3's second song. So I couldn't go to the studio. So I gave him my 808. I had a little sampler called Instant Replay. So I gave them that sampler so they could sample, big beat or loop it. So I gave them that, bye. And then once they finished, he came back, he played for me. I was like, yo, that's hot. So how I ended up in the Full Force family was when all these Roxanne Answer records, Shantae came out with Roxanne Shantae. So Full Force wanted to put out their Roxanne.
The real Roxanne.
Right, the real Roxanne. So
Right.
It was a girl first before Joanne, the Puerto Rican Roxanne. There was another Roxanne first. She's the one that actually made the Roxanne, the real Roxanne, record. Her and Full Force had some kind of falling out. So that's how Joanne got into the mix. So now, and they were putting on a little tour together, the Full Force family. So Roxanne didn't have a DJ. So Kango asked me if I could be Roxanne's DJ. So I was like, all right. So I saw that had the, good looking out for the Roxanne. Helping me out with the Roxanne. I saw that had him saying, good looking out. I'll let you be Roxanne's DJ. So when we go out tour, it's like, you can make, some money, touring and stuff. So, that's what happened. I became her DJ, blah. So now, this is how we got to Whistle. I'm always in my basement doing beats, always. And anytime somebody come down there and hear something, they end up writing to it and making a record. Just like Full Force Alice, I Want You Just For Me. I was messing around with the beat. Paul Anthony came to my basement, heard it, sat on the step, I wrote Alice, I Want You Just For Me. So I had a beat going. Kango came to my basement. He was like, yo, this beat is nice, man, bye. And he sat there and he came up with the hook. Ain't nothing serious. I forgot how it go.
The Just Buggin' chorus?
Yeah.
Okay.
The hook, he came up with the hook. So he went and got his crew together, he's the one that put Whistle together. He went and got some of his homeboys and formed the Whistle, and that's how, Whistle came about. Now, the reason why we did that is because, once again, I had a beat going in my basement. Kango came, heard it, like, yo, this beat is nice. Sat there and wrote the hook to Howie's T.O. Right? Howie's T.O. Kango came up with that, wrote it. So now the reason why we came up with Whistle is because Kango was mad at Full Force. Why was Kango mad at Full Force? When Full Force has a group, if Paul Anthony writes a song, it's written by Full Force. If B-Fine writes a song, it's written by Full Force. Bow-Legged writes a song, Bow-Legged Lou writes a song, it's written by Full Force. So when we did the Howie's T.O., when the record was recorded, done, we had the vinyl in our hand, and Kango Star, written by Full Force, because B-Fine wrote the lyrics, the rap for Roxanne. So it was written by Full Force, Howie T, and U.T.F.O. It didn't say Kango.
Wow.
So they automatically pushed that theory of, because when one person write in Full Force, it's Full Force wrote. So Full Force thought that if anybody from U.T.F.O. writes something, it's written by U.T.F.O. Kango didn't like that. So he was like, man. So he came, when he heard that Whistle beat, and he came up with that, he put his own group together so it could say, written by Howard T and Kango Kid.
Right.
So that's why Whistle came about, because Kango was mad at Full Force.
That's crazy. It's also crazy that just with your own group, with Crash Crew, with Whistle, with all this has happened so quickly, and you've seen so much of the non-music side of the music business.
Right.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So that's how Whistle came about.
As you ended up doing more stuff with Whistle just for fun. You did the Santa's a B-Boy, a lot of these other records with them. What made you work well with Whistle and with Kango, do you think?
Well, I only did a few songs with Whistle. The reason why I personally didn't venture on with Whistle is because Kango is turning Whistle into a singing group. Because if we notice, I think from like the second album, Whistle was singing now.
Right.
Because Kango always wanted to be a songwriter. So he used Whistle to get his songs out. Because Dr. Iverson, educated rapper, wasn't going to be no singer. Right. And Kango always loved to write songs.
Okay.
How could he get his songs out? He wrote for somebody else, which is Whistle. I wasn't into that. So I think for the second album, I may have done one or two songs. But I was like, that's when I end up, working with my cousin Chubbs and some other groups, some rap, ESP, Puma, Lil Shawn, because I was into rap. I wasn't into singing.
Well, Puma is actually what I want to get to next with the Seaborn and Puma, because They Call Me Puma. I remember that one was sonically especially so hard compared to everything I had heard that you had done before. So what made that lyrically, stylistically, and musically so hard by comparison?
Because of the character of Puma. He was like real hood. You know what I'm saying? So I did the beat to match his character. Because if you notice, Puma's rapping hard, and Chubb is doing the same thing. because it was actually Chubs and I that produced Puma. They called me Puma. But that's the reason why that song sounded like that, because I was doing the music to match his character and his rap style. You know, he was rapping hard, like so. I did music to match the character.
And like you said too, I remember too the credits were produced by Chubb Rock and Howie T or whatever.
Right.
So what did Chubb do? What did you do? Because you guys got a lot of credit for a lot of stuff together. So what did you guys? What did he specialize in? What did you specialize in?
That's a good question. It said produced by Chubb Rock and Howie T because we were not only just a group. He's my cousin. He's our real cousin. Yeah, his mother, my mother are sisters. You know, so since we were like a group, because this album is Chubb Rock, you know, either featuring or with, you know, Howie T. So it was almost, you know, like a full force.
Gotcha.
Person, right? A song, it says full force. So it was something like that.
Okay. Well, this is going to factor in a little bit again too, because one of the things that I noticed as I was following your career as it was happening is that you regularly worked with people and then worked with them again later, even if it was in a different way. So like Little Shawn, when you were doing like the Heartbreak Hotel and My Girl's Mother. So with Little Shawn, I was intrigued because later he got a lot more popular, but on the Heartbreak Hotel, My Girl's Mother, he's like telling these pretty detailed stories in the 87 era when that was starting to get, I guess, more and more popular. But as a writer and somebody that was bringing his stories to life, what did you like about him as a songwriter like that?
Shawn, he's really, really good at hooks. He comes up with great hooks. So when I first worked with Shawn, I knew Shawn way before I was doing records. Because like all these guys lived in my neighborhood. And since I had records out, and since I once I did, you know, on UTFO, I also had a relationship with Select Records. So like anything I brought Select Records, he would sign.
Okay.
So anybody in my neighborhood that wanted to do a song and it was good, we did it and brought it to Select. And he signed them. That's what happened with ESP. That's what happened with Puma. That's what happened with Shawn. There was guys in the neighborhood that wanted to rap and they wanted to record a record. So we would do the demo or we'd do the song, bring it to Select, he'll sign it, whether he liked it or not. Because he was like a new label. So, you know, and, you know, at the time, rap was hot. You know what I'm saying? Almost like anybody was putting out rap records. So it wasn't matter if he liked it or not. If I brought it to him, he figured it's good because of the success I had with UTFO and CD3. He figured I knew what I was talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So anything I did at that point, I would take it to Select. So that, you know, so since I knew Shawn from way back in the day, he wanted to make a record. We did a record, brought it to Select, got signed.
And then did you end up like becoming a staff producer or were you just doing this all independently? Did you get a salary?
It was all independent.
Okay.
And with all these record labels, I never had a production deal.
Why did you not pursue one? You didn't care?
I never pursued them.
Why not?
I don't know. It just never came to mind.
Okay.
You know, a guy, you know, some guy come to the basement. Yo, I got this rap idea. Blah blah blah. I did a track. They rapped on it. Brought his tag. They signed it, and he paid me whatever for the production. And that was it.
Okay.
So I never had like a production deal with Select to bring, you know, constantly bring, because I was taking it to him anyway. So
fair enough. Now with ESP, they were also very different too, and they had with the back rapping, kind of rapping backwards a little bit.
Yeah. Man, I always loved that style, but nobody picked up on it. I don't know why. That was such a hot idea.
It was, but remember, Nas did Rewind, where it's kind of like that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Nas has an amazing song called Rewind. You should listen to it.
Oh, okay.
Because when I first heard Rewind, I thought back rap, and I was like, Nas, of course, is like at the top of
Yeah.
He's at the top of the food chain, but it did kind of remind me in a way. But listen to that, please. It's an amazing song.
Okay. I'll check it out. I never knew that.
Yeah. But that one also seemed like louder, I guess is the best way to put it. But when since you had worked with Whistle, working with UTFO, Full Force, all these different things, but then you also had Puma and Little Shawn and Chubb Rock, when you got back or when you were doing the ESP stuff, how did you find you were able to kind of move between a solo artist and a group? How did that work for you?
I kind of like just went with the flow. I hear what they wrote, and I just did a track according to what their flow was. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't the type of rapper like Chubbs and Puma, loud and aggressive. They were like more laid back, almost like a ladies' man type, smooth. You know, so because I don't know if you noticed, but they were the first. I was the first one to sample the bars.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and that was what, 86, and then Biggie did it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they were that type of, you know. So that's the song I sampled because it was more smooth, R&B, kind of laid back, according to what they, you know what I'm saying. Back then, sounds was still kind of big, you know, with a whole lot of reverb on drum and stuff like that. But as far as the groove, it was more mellow and laid back because it fit their style.
Yeah. Because then when you get to like The Wild Thing and We Got It, that single, that to me was much more laid back flow. And then you hear like also the same samples like for Enough Respect that Big Eddie Kane used later, and Jingling Baby, all on this one single by ESP. You can hear those beats. Which I thought was cool. But this is also when Chubb Rock started emerging as a rapper. So what made him go from producing to wanting to be a rapper?
He was always wanting to be a rapper. Always wanted to be. It's like I said before, his name was there on producer because, you know.
So was your guys' name the True Blue Productions? Was that the two of you?
No. That's two totally different people. They came into the mix when they started to manage Chubbs.
Okay.
You know, it was True Blue Management. So it also, you know, guys that grew up with, you know, in the neighborhood, so they wanted to be managers.
Okay.
So when I was continually doing, you know, different artists, I would now give the finished product to them or the demo to them, and they would do the shopping. You know what I'm saying? But they were managing the artists. I never had a manager. I never had a manager, ever.
Wow.
I never had a manager.
Why not?
They wanted to manage me, but I didn't want them because anything they got me, I always paid them their management fee. You know what I'm saying? They never had to chase me down for their money.
Right.
If they got me a remix on whatever they supposed to get paid for getting me that remix, I paid them. With no hassle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, I didn't need to be on no contract.
Right.
You know?
It makes things a lot simpler when you just do it that way.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So then when you guys started working on the Chubb Rock featuring Hitman Howie T, why did you add the Hitman to your name?
Full Force gave me that name because I was doing Roxanne before Chubs. So the Hitman came about because, you know, when Roxanne would say, "How is he Hitman?" And I would go, "Bam, bam, bam." So they figured Hitman Howie T, because when she said how he hit me, you know, so that's why that name came about. And then they tried to give me an image as a hitman. You know, I had on, I had that look before on Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. You know, with the hat, with those black glasses and the black suit with the tie. I was going on tour with Roxanne like that.
Wow.
Because my was Hitman Howie T. And Hitman, you know, trying to make you look like a hitman. But the hit they talking about was bad, you know, a stab, a record stab as a hit. Man.
Okay.
You know, that's the hitman they're talking about.
Right, right. Okay.
Not tough guy, and I'm like Roxanne's bodyguard type of thing. It wasn't that kind of a hitman. Gotcha. The image may be that, but that wasn't what, you know, the purpose of the name was.
I remember reading, you know, when I was growing up and everything, that Chubb Rock was a merit scholar. So it seemed like school was very important to him. Was it also like a really big deal for you going to school and being smart and trying to be studious, or was that not as big for you?
No, it wasn't bigger for me at all. I thought I was going to be, let me see, ever since I was maybe like 11 or 12, in the neighborhood, when somebody would throw out an old stereo or TV, I would take it home and fix it. So that was my thing, the electronics. I would take stuff apart to see how it works. If my aunt or uncle stereo system would break down, they would call me, ask me to come and look at it. And I'll look at it again, figuring it out and fixing it. So after I graduated from junior high school, instead of going to a regular high school, I went to George Westinghouse, which was an old boys school for electronics. I made a digital clock. I fixed TVs. They had arcade games in the classroom that you would fix. So that's the route I thought I was going. But meanwhile, I was doing that, I was into music as far as DJ. You know what I'm saying? So now when I ran into that guy, Pete, you know, that's what my whole career shifted. But with what I learned at George Westinghouse, I put my whole studio together. You know, I built my own studio.
Gotcha.
Because I know electronics and if something went wrong with an amp or whatever, I would fix it. My brother and I, we would build our own speaker boxes. You know, so I was the electronically inclined. So I guess all of that schoolwork is what helped me into building my studio and maintaining it as far as, as far as maintenance.
Right.
I pay up my own studio, speakers, patch bay.
That's crazy. So when you started doing the Hitman or the Chubb Rock featuring Hitman Howie T album, Chubb Rock's first album, what was it different to be focusing on making an actual album versus doing singles or doing some songs on like a Whistle album or UTFO or something?
It's kind of weird because when I was working with Chubbs, I was just doing tracks, right? And he would hear the tracks and he'll write whatever to a certain track or write what. I never put it with Chubbs. No, with none of the artists. They never said, okay, I have a song called this and this is how it go. And then I did a track according to, I always do a track that fits their flow, not what they say. You see what I'm saying? So I would come up with a whole bunch of tracks. Chubbs do listen to them, go through them. I want this one. I got something for this one. I got something for that one. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, and then all that he wrote to enough to make an album. We never said, okay. The only time we ever did something with album in mind was the one.
Okay.
Everything else, I just had a bunch of tracks. He wrote a bunch of stuff. We put all the stuff together. That's an album. And the winner is he did a whole bunch of tracks. He picked track that he liked, wrote to it. We had a whole bunch. That's the album. Because we had enough to make an album. We never went out with those two albums. Our focus was never to make an album. I just did tracks. He heard the tracks. He wrote to it. He wrote to enough of it. Album.
Okay. Now, with on the first album, Chubb Rock featuring Hitman Howie T, the "I Feel Good" song was always one that stood out to me because around this time, rap was getting harder, more political, even more street, and that one is very celebratory about being paid properly, but also buying property and all these different things. Do you remember when you started hearing them write that or rap that? Did it like hit you a little differently, or was it like, oh, what is this? Or
okay, now you're gonna trip out. What I do anytime I produce songs for whoever, I never pay attention to the lyrics. I may pay attention to the lyrics way after the song is done. It's already on vinyl or CD. I listen to it, I'll be like, oh, snap. And then I start recognizing what the person said, and I was like, oh. Like with Special Ed, when he came and auditioned, his lyrics caught me because his lyrics and his flow. It was more of his flow, and then for some reason I paid attention to his lyrics. I was like, oh, crap. This kid is nice. And I knew Ed since he was like, 7 years old or something like that.
oh, wow.
Right? So, but otherwise than that, I never pay attention to what they wrote. Because my thing is, my job is the music. What you put on there is on you. Because if a song is going to be criticized, it's going to be criticized because of the lyrics before they criticize the music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you heard a song, if you hear a rap song or any song, and you say it's whack, you're going to say it's whack because of the lyrics first. You're never going to say, oh man, these lyrics are hot, but the beat is whack. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the beat that's going to make you want to pay attention to the lyrics. Then you're going to say if the lyrics is good or not. the beat got to get you there first.
Yeah, that's
So if the beat is whack, they're not even going to know what you start rapping about because they're not going to play it long enough.
Yeah, that's something that I think people get backwards because rap is so lyric driven. But it's like if the beat isn't good, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. But they won't even get to hear what you say because the beat is not motivating or good enough for them to continue listening.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So my focus is always make sure the beat. My focus is always the beat got to be good enough that it could be a great stone instrumental. It could be a great instrumental song.
Right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I always say my beats is the table. The lyrics are the legs that's gonna make the beat stand. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a granite table, you know what I'm saying, if you see that blab of granite and you put that granite tabletop on a cardboard legs, you know what I'm saying? The granite tabletop may be nice and smooth, the design, but if the legs can't hold it up, you know what I'm saying? So my part is make sure the tabletop is good. You got to put the right legs on it.
Right. Okay. Now, one lyric question I do have, though, maybe you can help me, though, was with It's So Hot, some of those lyrics were used for your Bad Chubs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So why did you guys do that?
Because It's So Hot was never a single. So we figured nobody heard it.
Well, at least one person.
Right. A lot of people didn't. Trust me, a lot of people didn't realize that.
Okay.
You know, it has to be people like yourself that really pay attention to every song on somebody's album to say, "Oh, snap, he said that before." You know what I'm saying? But not everybody's like that.
Because when I heard your Bad Chubs, I found myself rapping along to it, but I'd never heard it. I was like, wait a minute, how? Oh, that's
what you talking about with the go to the J with the fat boys. Yeah, he said it twice.
So that being said, It's So Hot also seemed like with the winner is that Chubb changed his vocal presence, his style, his delivery. It got more kind of in the pocket as opposed to being on top of the beat. So what, as a producer, as his cousin, as his friend, all these things, what changed stylistically for him toward the end of the first album going into And the Winner Is?
Because back then, everything as far as with rap was more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? So anytime you're hearing stuff like Rock Box and, you know, and the way rappers were rapping at the time, so, you know, aggressive, then as you go along, you start to find your own little pocket. You know what I'm saying? You start to find, because when rap was done, everybody was trying to be like what was out and what was being successful. So they're saying, you know, if I rap like this, because this is what's, you know, people like the way this rapper rap, aggressive. So, you know, my lyrics, of course, will be different, but the rap style and the aggressiveness, I figure if I do that, you know what I'm saying, people will like my song too. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like a process of trying to find yourself as a new, you know, artist coming into the game, having the opportunity to make records. Then you just eventually just find what fits you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And basically that's what it was. It's just a learning process. He found himself at that point. And he figured, you know, the way I'm rapping, when I'm writing, my flow is more, I like this flow. I like the way I present my you know, my lyrical skills and my talent this way.
Okay. Now, when you had said earlier about Whistle going into singing, I noticed you didn't have a lot, so I was glad you said that. But I also was intrigued because on the Real Roxanne, the early La La, there is she, I guess, is the one singing the chorus a little bit.
Yeah.
So what made you comfortable, or what made that work for you?
And no, it didn't work for me. It worked for her. That's what she wanted to do. I gave her a track to do it.
Okay.
That was never even. I think I may have played that record 3 times.
Wow. So why did since you had toured with her, it was in a Full Force family, why do you think Select had the LA Posse, Jam Master Jay, and others do the LP on the production as well as you? Why didn't you just do it by yourself?
Because Select wanted of the production style, and I think Roxanne was being managed by Rush Management at the time.
Okay.
So because I was Roxanne's DJ and all that, you know, Select didn't want her to have an album and me not involved in it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I ended up doing songs on that album, is because of trying to figure out what's the word I'm looking for. I don't know if it's respect or whatever, but they figured, you know, since I was with her, since her beginning of her career, now that she's doing an album, they didn't see that it was fair for me not to be on it.
Okay. Well, speaking of respect, that's another song you produced, and ESP wrote on that, and ESP also wrote on Look But Don't Touch.
Right.
So you had been working with them for years, then working with her. So what made you or her reach out to ESP to do some writing?
Roxanne was never a writer. You know, all her lyrics, you know, she wrote the la 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 hook, but she didn't write the lyrics. I don't know who wrote that. I think her sister's boyfriend or somebody in her crew wrote the lyrics. And I asked ESP to write something. I asked him, you know, I wanted to do that track, Respect. And I asked ESP, you know, to pen some lyrics for her. And they did.
As time goes on and we're getting your Bad Chubs is blowing up, because that was the first one I remember really getting a lot of play. And I grew up in Maryland. I would hear that on the radio. And then, of course, Special Ed, I Got It Made, was blowing up on the radio too. So as you started getting some of these songs that were getting beyond New York, but getting played in different cities, how did things change for you as a producer, as a person, as a DJ, if at all?
No, nothing really changed at all. The CD3, when that record started playing on the radio, and I heard it, I was like, oh man, you know, it was a great feeling to hear something you did on the radio and people liking it. Then, you know, after that, if it was on the radio, I'm like, whatever. I just came with, I just was always in the studio doing, and you know, just putting beats together.
Okay.
You know, so if it was on the radio, great. But I didn't, you know, it wasn't like I was in the studio and somebody called me up and said, yo, such and such record that you did is on the radio, and I stopped what I'm doing and turned to the radio station and hear it. It was never that.
Okay. Fair enough. So with Special Ed, since he was on Profile Records, and the majority of the other stuff you had done other than Sugar Hill was really on Select, how did that work to get him on Profiles as opposed to Select?
Oh, at that point, we didn't want to bring anything else to I didn't want to bring anything else to you know, Select.
Why?
Because because they weren't fair.
Okay.
Okay. Chubb's album, The One, right? 3 #1 hits on rap singles. 3 on Billboard. Guess what I don't have?
A gold record?
Exactly. They said it never went gold and never sold. It never sold enough to go gold.
Yeah,
See what I'm saying?
I find that hard.
Right. 3 #1 Billboard hits on the same album, and it didn't go gold. Same thing with Special Ed. After a while, The Youngest in Charge never went gold to this day.
Right.
It's always set up to 430 and stop.
Wow.
I don't have a plaque for Ed. I don't have a plaque for Chubb.
That's crazy. But I thought I'd seen in Billboard or something, for some reason I thought I'd seen it back then that The One had gone gold. But anyway. So that's understandable. So now with Profile, how did they treat you differently, or did you just have carte blanche over there too with Special Ed's Youngest in Charge album?
When I did Special Ed's demo, I gave it to True Blue. Because True Blue wanted to manage Special Ed and told him, yo, if we get you a deal, you can be your manager. So Ed was like, okay. So they went shopping. They took it to Def Jam, and Russell wanted to buy the lyrics for Slick Rick.
Wow. Wow.
And we were having that. We wanted Ed as an artist. So we went to Def Jam. I think we went to Tommy Boy. We went to Sleeping Bag. We went to a few of these labels, and Profile was the only one that wanted to take a chance.
Okay, so why did Slick Rick is an amazing writer? Why did Russell Simmons?
I don't know. I think because I don't know. The only reason I could come up with, which is still not a good reason, is that Ed is also a great storyteller. You know what I'm saying? So he figured the stories, the Slick Rick stories there. I don't know. But he wanted to buy the lyrics for Slick Rick.
Okay. Now, Special Ed, Youngest in Charge, he made it when he was 15, 16. And
no, it came out when he was 15.
So he made it earlier?
Yeah, we recorded it when he was 14.
Okay. So that
it took like a year for it to come. No, it took about a year for him to get the deal.
Okay.
We shopped it for about a year.
That's crazy. And then did you, Special Ed told me when I've talked to him a few times that you helped him understand how to make a song with the breaks and chorus.
Yeah, because I think I don't remember which 4 songs. It was one rap. It just kept going on and on. I was like, okay, we're going to use this part. You're going to rap here. We're going to stop. Hook. Another, I think it was like 16 bars or whatever the bars was. So I showed him about arrangement. Verse, hook, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, because he would have kept going. Because Ed is a battle rapper. Most of those rhymes are battle raps.
Right. And then, too, I thought it was interesting because with I Got It Made, there's no chorus.
No, they're not.
But
I Got It Made.
So how did you, as a producer, decide when to have a chorus and when to leave it just blank? Like instrumental?
It all depends on the song and how I'm hearing it and how I'm feeling it. You know what I'm saying? On that song, I felt him ending it with "I got it made" was enough. And it turned out it is, because everybody remember that part. I got it made. We're saying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. And then as you as a producer and as the music evolved getting into the 90s, like with the On the Magnificent and all these different songs where, and most of your songs, many of your songs, they're so sample driven. How, as we get into the 1990s, the end of 89, how did the sampling laws and clearing stuff, did that affect you a lot? Not at all? Did you care?
The sampling law came in, I think, was 89?
Yeah, it was around then because that's when people started.
Yeah, around 89. You know, I already did Ed's album.
Okay.
So the only person that came at us, they didn't come at us hard. They was like, yo, you know, obvious. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we wasn't going to argue with that, which is I got it made on the Ripple. You know, so they're the only one that came at us, and we gave them their fair share of the, you know, of the publishing. And they were cool with that. But all the other songs on the album, and nobody came at us.
Okay. So just using two examples, like your Bad Chubs, you got like the LL from On Bad, and
right. And none of that was clear, and nobody came at us.
And then, of course, with the Think About It, you got Rakim. But how did you decide when and who to sample? Was it just stuff you liked? Was it like, oh, I think I could sample this? Like, how did you?
No, when I was doing the track, and you know, I wanted to come up with either was a hook or something that related to what he was rapping about. You know, a song would come to mind. I would check it out to see if it works. If it works, put it in. And that was it. I didn't think about, you know, back then I wasn't thinking about no sample clearance. Nobody was.
Right.
You know, especially when you sampling another rapper. You know what I'm saying? They're sampling. Like on the PE, rock and roll. That's rock and roll, dude.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna go after PE for that. And that's the original. There's no sample in rock and roll, dude. You know what I'm saying? That's original. That's me, Chubbs, and my daughter's mother, and Dr. Ice saying rock and roll, dude, rock and roll.
Oh, and whatever happened to the Domino dude that was early on with Chubb Rock?
I don't know. Him and Chubbs was a group. When we did that first song, Rock and Roll, and It's So Hard, I don't know what made them split up. I mean, they still friends. They're still cool. I'm still cool with Domino. But okay. I don't know what happened.
Okay. So then, speaking of stuff, how did you get to work with Father MC on the Father's Day album?
I was the kind of person, it's hard. I can't even explain it really. I used to always find myself at places, right? So for some reason, I found myself at Uptown Records, and I would always hang out there. I knew Andre Harrell. Puffy used to come to my basement when he was still an intern. And I used to just go to Uptown. And when you went to Uptown, at least for me, I just go there and just go in. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to wait in the reception area and wait for Andre or Puffy to tell me to come in, yo, come in, blah, blah. I was just there. So I ended up meeting Father MC, blah, blah, blah. He was putting an album together and they wanted me to do a song. So I did it.
Okay.
Same thing with Heavy D. I ended up knowing Heavy D. Heavy D and I really built our relationship because he's Jamaican. And now, you know, so we used to always, trip out, speak our Jamaican language and all that to each other. And then he wanted me to do the remix to More Bounce. So I did that remix. We did it at Eddie Murphy's studio, Bubble Hill in Jersey. And then after that, I did a song for him on Strictly Business. And I think one other one. I did, and Peaceful Journey album. I Could Make You Go Ooh.
Right.
Well, and because he asked me to do that. And here's something, this is one of the bad things about being in the music industry as a producer. When he did Peaceful Journey, he wanted to introduce another side of his rap flow. Because mostly all of his records were dance, was always up there, what I'm saying, club dance song. So he wanted to present something different. So I Could Make You Go Ooh, he wanted to be, on the first single by Andre, and because Teddy was the hot producer at the time, they went with, the one Teddy did.
Right.
Okay. And of course Heavy went with it because Andre, his record label, they said, yo, we need to go with this because Teddy's hot right now. The song is good, which it is. So.
Okay. And the thing that I always thought was interesting or very unexpected at this time was to get some work with Candyman. So how did that happen? Because I
don't remember how I even met Candyman, but he wanted me to do the song with him. I just did it because he asked me. I don't remember where I met him at though. That's sad. I guess it's age.
Well, you also did a lot of work, so that's to be expected.
I did a remix with Redhead Kingpin, the Love Thing.
Back to 3 number ones on the one. The thing that impressed me a lot about that album was you'd always been putting in some reggae and different sounding elements into your beats over the years. But I also thought that even if you just look at just the two of us and treat them right, they were so different. And they were back to back, and they were singles, and. So what was going on with you and in your mind, in your development, that was having your sound expand so much?
The one album was done. The only thing that was left to do was mix it, right? Again, another guy from the neighborhood, wanted to be a rapper. So he came down to my basement. He laid down 4 demos, right? So unfortunately he was in jail, right? I didn't know when he was going to come out, but I was working on one of his songs. So one of his songs, I was trying to arrange it, with the verse, hook, whatever. So I was working on that song. So I was changing the track completely. I wanted a whole different track. So I had the track, the Cold Feet. And then I wanted the Chiripi, la la. I wanted that to be a hook, believe it or not. He wasn't saying nothing. He was freestyling. It was like an ad lib. But I wanted to use that as a hook. So I had the beat going, I sample it, I had it in the beat, loop it, right? So now it was time to put the verses in its place. But I didn't do that yet. I still had the beat with that part. Here comes Chubbs in my basement. Yo, what is that? I was like, oh, I'm working on such and such. He said, yo, I want that for my album. And that's how I got on his album. He sat there and he wrote it. If you listen carefully to the first verse, there's a part in there that said, scared to kick a 16 bar, he's not a rap star. The first 16 bar was for me. He wanted me to rap the first 16 bars. I was like, nah, bro, I am not doing that. I am not a rapper. Because I was thinking about being on stage again, just like CD3, which was terrifying to me, to be on stage and rapping, trying to rock it rap. That just wasn't me. I was like, nah, man, I am not doing that. He said, yo, come on, man, blah, blah. I was like, nah, I ain't doing it. So he rewrote it. And that's how I scared to kick a 16 bar is not a rap star.
That's funny. Definitely didn't know that part at all.
Yeah,
so then
totally somebody else's song.
Yeah. Well, with the one also, you guys stopped doing like every song together. What was going on with track masters? What was going on with you? Why did that start happening?
After I did the one album and mixing and all that, I end up start working with I'm working with Color Me Bad. You know, so, and I wasn't DJing him. I wasn't DJing, you know, for him anymore. I wanted to stick to producing. So I guess while he was out there promoting that song, he ran into Trackmaster, built a relationship with them, and you know, having them, you know what I'm saying, do the production. It was it wasn't no big deal. You know what I'm saying? So I was just doing something else. He ended up running into Trackmasters and them, and they ended up wanting to produce them, so he let them. It wasn't no, you know, there's some people think there was some kind of beef, but nah, that's my cousin.
Right. So how did you get with Color Me Bad? And why did you work with them since you didn't want to do singing stuff?
Here's the thing. Okay. I don't know if you heard this guy named Stanley Brown.
I don't know.
There's a guy named Stanley Brown. He produced Salt and Pepper's how it goes, respect yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, he produced them. He produced some other R&B group. He lived on my street was Schenectady. On the opposite side of the block, he lived on that side of the block. So I knew Stanley. So Stanley and Dr. Freeze was being managed by the same guy, Hiram Hicks, right? So Freeze is a good songwriter. He's just not a good producer. So when he did Poison, there's a ghost story behind that. But when he did Poison, right? The guy, another guy named Howie, was the engineer. He really produced it. Because Freeze is not he's just a great. So now, Freeze had the opportunity to write a song for the New Jack on City on soundtrack. So he had that song, Sex You Up. Now the demo, try to visualize this in your ear. Poison drums, You know how loud and aggressive those drum kick and snares. Picture that drum sound, not the pattern. The drum sound would sex you up.
Yeah,
Doesn't go.
doesn't work.
That's what he had.
Oh, wow.
So Stanley knew I was into producing, brought Freeze over to my house. And I reconstructed the whole song. Got rid of the drum sounds, changed the drum sound, changed the bass sound and all that. And then when Color Me Bad came and they put the vocals on there, you know, we recorded the vocals. I went to LA, mixed the song. So they saw all what I did. So that's why they asked me to produce some songs for them, right? Now they're singers, but they love singing on hip hop tracks. So I played them hip hop tracks and they wrote to hip hop track. All for Love was a hip hop track that I had archived. So the next rapper that wanted me to do something, that was going to be one of the tracks I let them hear. But Color Me Bad heard it and wrote All for Love.
So did that end up being your first plaques for New Jack City track and all that?
Color Me Bad, the stuff I did 5 songs on that album. Color Me Bad, a pop group, is the only production I've done that paid me.
What do you mean?
I never got paid for from hip hop.
You mean residual? You mean residual wise?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, royalty.
Right.
I may get Chubb's first album, and the winner is I got $25,000 to produce those albums. $25,000 each.
Okay.
To produce that. And it wasn't my $25,000. It was $25,000 for Chubb's and I to split. Wow. So studio costs, which wasn't none because it was in my basement, all of that's supposed to come out of that $25,000. So now, so now the one, Chubbs was ready to do another album. He said, yo, I want to do this the next album, man, but yo, Select got to give us more than doing $25,000, man. You need to holler at Fred and try to get some more money out of him. So I called up Select. Man, this guy was on the phone going at it. Bah, 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 bah. And I ended up getting $100,000, which still wasn't nothing compared to what rappers were getting to do albums. Yeah. But it was better than 25. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think, that was the only money I got from the album. That's crazy. Now, same thing with Ed. And the thing is with Ed, I never had a production on contract to produce any of Special Ed album. That's why I still got the masters in my closet. I got the master. Wow. So with Color Me Bad and I Want to Sex You Up, with it, this song being on the radio, being a smash, being a soundtrack, it's a huge single, didn't help you at all, really? Not $1. Why not? On the soundtrack, it has produced by Dr. Freeze. On Color Me Bad's album, produced by Dr. Freeze, co-produced by Howie T. That's all I got was a credit. I never got points. Wow. So that's crazy. So then how are you making a living then? Huh? How are you making a living? I did 5 other songs on there.
Oh, it was through the other
Then
stuff.
right, and then before that, I was doing remix. I would get like $12,000 a remix for either Kashif or whoever.
Okay.
And I was still living in my mother's basement, so I didn't have bills.
Well, that definitely helps.
That definitely helped.
Now,
So with the little bit of money I was getting for remixes, that's what I was using to buy equipment and stuff like that.
okay, gotcha. So then you come full circle with Little Shawn with Tickies on My Chest. So how and why did that opportunity come back around? 5+ years later.
Because Shawn was now ready to make. He was ready to make more records. So again, I was out of the basement at that time. I was in my mother's garage. I turned her garage into a full-blown studio. So I was that guy that never went out and hang out. If I go to a club or whatever, I was taking a brain break. Because what I'll do, if I come up with a track, I'll leave it looping and leave. And I take a trip to Manhattan. If it's night, if there's a party going on, a club or whatever, I go there, blah, blah, blah. When I come back, once I open up that door and hear that beat, because it was looping all that time. If I open the door and hear that beat and it still gets me, then I keep it. But otherwise than that, I was never that guy that go and hang out. I was never always hanging out. That's why a lot of people don't know what I look like unless they look at Chubb's album.
That's the only way I knew.
I could walk down the street. Anytime I go to clubs, I don't walk up to the security and say, "Yo, I'm Howie T, blah, blah, for him." I get on the line. And nobody knows.
Right.
I could stand right behind somebody with All for Love. All for Love, #1 on 100 single on Billboard, and be in the back of the line with somebody and they never know that it's me.
That's crazy.
I get on the line, I pay to get in.
That's crazy.
Because I never wanted the limelight. I never wanted the attention like that. So I was always in my studio. When I take breaks, I go on the back of line to get in clubs, pay.
So what did you want? Just to make music?
Yep, that's all I wanted to do.
Okay.
Make beats. And I always try to have like a catalog of beats. And it has to be the kind of beats that is timeless. So if I made a beat 10 years ago and somebody comes to me and says, "Yo, man, I want to work on a song, blah, blah, blah. You got any beats?" I'll be confident enough to play them something I did 10 years ago and they'll like it. They don't have to know I did it 10 years ago.
One of the many songs that you've done that we haven't talked about that aged extremely well and gets to your roots is the Romantic Call with Patra, another plaque you have behind you.
Oh.
So being able to produce an actual real song with a reggae artist, given that you're Jamaican, etc., did that have any extra dimensions for you?
I did like the one album has a reggae song on there. I mean, on Chubbs did rap in Jamaican.
Right.
He had
he didn't get his patois on.
right. He had this other guy that did the patois in the hook. Mm-hmm. Right? So, I always try to add some kind of Jamaican music element.
Yeah, especially when
I'm magnificent, right? I'm the magnificent and all that. So when I had the opportunity to produce for a song for Patra, and she's Jamaican. Yo-Yo was going to be on that song too. So I said to myself, okay, I know Yo-Yo's not going to sound good on a reggae track, but reggae sound good on a hip hop track, right? So I was like, okay, should I make the whole track hip hop? It'll work. Then I said, nah. When it's Patra's turn, I put reggae. When it's Yo-Yo's turn, I put hip hop. And I figured out a way to make it work that you don't drastically hear the transition.
Right. Yeah, because that was a huge song, as you know.
Yeah, I had Romantic Call when Gold has a 45.
Wow.
I have a 45 with a cassette plaque. And I used to work at Warner Brothers in Burbank, California.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my own office. Somebody in Warner Brothers went in my office and stole that one plaque off the wall.
Wow. What did you do at Warner Brothers and when?
I used to be A&R back in 96.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that. So who did you work with, or were you doing stuff with like Quest Records, or what were you doing?
No, Benny Medina's contract was up, and he didn't want to be signed to run the back division at Warner Brothers. Right? So as I'm telling you the story, I'm telling you because now I find out certain things or why certain things happen. Come to find out, Warner Brothers was trying to get rid of the black division, the rock, and some other division. They were trying to get rid of that, and they would try to move mainly into television. They wanted to keep one or two, genres. I forgot which one it was, but they were slowly trying to get rid of those genres. So my lawyer, Denise Brown, had the opportunity to take Benny Medina's spot. So they asked her, and she said, yeah. So it was time, once she did the contract with Warner Brothers, now it was time for her to put her team together. So she asked me if I wanted to be one of her A&R rep. I've never done it, A&R before. I said, I don't know how to do it. She said, it's simple. You just got to find good acts. So I was like, all right. So I ended up taking that position. Now, I thought I was going to be in the New York, Manhattan office. But she was like, no, I don't know nobody out here in Cali. Why don't you move out here? Well, I was already out there. She asked me when I stay out there. The reason why I was in Cali at the time, Dr. Dre had a keyboard player that played on his stuff, Fridays and all that stuff. He wanted to put an album together. He wanted to be an artist because Dr. Dre and Sugar started Death Row. So he wanted to be one of the artists on Death Row. But, there was a couple other people that Dre signed to Death Row, but Dre didn't want to be the producer of all the acts on Death Row. So he always the guy named Shawn, AKA Barney. He always liked my stuff. So he wanted me to hook up with him and work on some demos. So he flew to Brooklyn. We worked on some demos. He went back to LA, made Dre hear it. Dre was like, oh, hell yeah. And I flew out there. That's when Dre was living in Encino. So went out there, he had a studio at his crib. So he made me record at the studio at his crib because Dre will always book studios a year at a time. He booked a studio for a year. So the studio came in, they booked, and Suge had his office set up at Can-Am, right? You know, Suge is the blood, so the carpet was red, whatever. So Dre didn't want me to be mixed up in all that crap. So that's why he wanted me to record out of his crib. He didn't want me around that. So we recorded songs. I got maybe like 5 songs, real good songs. Basically, I put on like an LA hat that I didn't have. And my style like LA. So we recorded a song. Everything was going good. Then Dre and Suge had they fallen out. So everybody that was signed to Death Row at that point was shelved. And the guy Shawn, he was mad. He didn't leave California. He left America.
Wow.
He just bounced. So I still got his demos and all that. So since I was already out there, and Denise asked me to do A&R, I ended up staying out there and doing some A&R. So now I only end up doing A&R for like a year because I wanted to sign. What's the name of the group with Will I Am?
Black Eyed Peas?
Black Eyed Peas. Black Eyed Peas had a showcase on Sunset Boulevard, right? And I went and checked them out. I was like, yo, these guys is hot. So I got their demo from one of our A&R meetings. I presented it. I said, yo, we need to sign these guys. These guys are nice, blah, blah, blah. Warner Brothers purposely didn't give us a good budget to sign them. That's why Sony ended up signing them over because they would eventually want to get rid of black music. So they didn't want to give us the right budget to sign folks.
That's crazy. Huh. That's wild. Did you end up signing anybody?
Raw Breed, these guys from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Yeah, I signed them.
Okay.
That song Carlito's Way and all that.
I have that because it's like a blue cover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that album.
Yeah. Raw Breed. We did that at Ice-T script.
Okay. How about that? So then we've been talking a long time. We'll have to hopefully have you come back again. But what is there anything that you're doing now you want to tell people about or have people look out for?
I'm working on, I have a song on Chubbs. I have another, not the same title, but I got another Howie's T-Dog. And I'm working with this girl named Crystal Johnson. I don't know if you heard of Crystal Johnson. Well, she sang most of the hooks on Mobb Deep. She was on Temperature Rising. Yeah. And she sang on CL Smooth. Pete Rock CL Smooth. Yeah. CL, all right. Yeah. Her and I knew her from way back in the days. We wrote a song for Tara Kemp. Okay. On the Class Act soundtrack. Yeah, so that's how I knew her. So now I hooked up with her again a couple months ago, and we're working on some song. She got the song, the sample. The sample is a I don't know if I should tell you. The way I flip the sample is crazy. Well, but anyway. I look forward to hearing it. So I got maybe like 3 songs on her so far. You know, so I'm working on some songs. I gave Ed a track because I want him and I want to do this song with him and KRS.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for them to send me back the lyrics, because you know how stuff is done now. People do lyrics, just like the song I did with Chubs. He did the lyrics and he emailed me the lyrics, and I synced it up. So now I'm kind of like in the middle of mixing it.
Okay. Well, there it is. Well, Howie T, man, I really appreciate you coming through, man. It's
all good, man.
It's an honor talking to you, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for the invite again.